Thomas, Mundy, and Mike from Sergeant Moving and Storage. Guys, thanks for stopping by again. And you know what? I just get excited to talk about like how I'm learning whenever I do move again, I got to be prepared. And Mike, preparedness is so important, isn't it? As we've been talking about on the podcast.
Absolutely. I think that's why it keeps coming up week after week, because I can't stress enough the importance of that preparedness.
Yeah, and when you run into that to try to be prepared, it's something that is so important. So Tom, why is summer a perfect time to move? If you're experienced, being in the moving and storage industry for over 20 plus years, why is summer such a perfect time to move?
Well, one of the main reasons is if families are moving and they have children, the children don't have to be relocated and taken out of the school system that they may have a semester in, for lack of better words, and he had transplanted to another
town or city. You should have to start all over. Normally, children like to be able to get into a neighborhood where they could acclimate themselves and make friends, so that when they do get into a new school, they're going in with some they have comfort.
Yeah, definitely. They feel like that they're not being rushed into things. They have other things to do, and I think it's so key to choose now to do it, because you can plan out more, and you don't feel so stressed that you have to do things. You could take some time off. All those particulars are very, very important. Mike, when you experience that, what other reasons do you think summer's a great time for a move?
So, when we're talking about local moves, I mean, we're in Florida, so we don't really have to worry about winter. But when you start looking at long distance moving, a lot of the country has a hard time compared to us in the winter. So when you're talking about moving in the winter, you have to worry about, snow, ice, how much harder it is to actually move the trucks across the country. So that plays a big factor too. It could take longer because of road conditions. There could be closures where, the guys are stuck, on a highway in Colorado and they close the road for the day. What do you do then? So the winter poses a lot of problems in itself. So just with that being said, the summer being the opposite, it's a lot smoother of a time when you're talking about, especially going out west, going up north where it's mountainous and they have harsh winters. It makes the summer a much more ideal time if you're moving to or from those areas.
No, absolutely. And Tom, anything else to add what Mike was saying?
Um, it seems that the, um, the summertime, of course, for the trucking business seems to be a better time for us because the trucks seem to run better. There's less problems, less freezing lines, different things that happen.
Besides, inclement weather. So we have found that the workers seem to have a better time, easier time, where they're not dealing with icy conditions on a driveway of a home. Trucks can get up a little bit closer to the home without having to worry about ice patches nearby. So that seems to be a good part of it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So very, very interesting process. And when I think about, you're right. Winter is not always the best, but you got to move whenever you got to do. But I think that now let's talk about summer, Mike. And in that time, you have to, especially if you're talking about Florida, you have to talk about specifically other things you have to look in when you're packing up for the move. So what tips do you want to offer today?
If you're saying in the summer versus the
Yeah,
winter,
because so hot. Yeah, and
right.
putting all that. Yeah.
So one thing, when you're in the South that you have to think about in the summer, a potential negative is we get storms every day. The heavens open up for an hour or two every afternoon. So that's something to keep in mind. Starting earlier in the morning and trying to get a move done or at least loading done before those storms hit is always a good idea. If you're going into storage, you have to really consider, which we talked a little bit about in recent episodes here, but you really have to consider if you're in Florida, if you're in anywhere in the South really this time of year, even if you're looking at short-term storage, you got to think about paying the extra little bit to be climate controlled. Because if it's, 95 degrees outside, inside that unit with no air moving, it's easily, 105, 110, just like it is in the back of the truck when we're loading. So things to consider would definitely be how you're going to transport any food items. You don't want them in the truck. If you're going into storage, you definitely want climate controlled, especially when it's the summer down here. Just little things like that can save you a lot of headache later.
It save you a lot of headache, a lot of challenges, a lot of different things. Now, let's go, Tom. We talked about some advantages, we talked about some disadvantages, but mostly advantages. But here's the thing. This is your busiest time of year, Tom, because this is a great time to move. People should really book early, right? They shouldn't just wait till the last minute to try to move.
Yeah, of course. We always, when we're doing our presentations to customers, or we're dealing with some of the realtors that recommend us, we do
Stress to the people to try to make sure that they give us as much time as possible. Also, and to give us as much time to get in and spend time with them to make sure that their move goes accordingly, and to make sure that they have planned it properly and make sure that they have the proper materials if they're going to be packing up their own goods.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And when you're packing up your own goods, you got to make sure, holy cow, you know what I mean? That it's work. I have a story, guys, and this is again part of what the podcast and how I share. It's been one of the most stressful times ever is moving. And I feel it takes so much to recover after that move. What mistakes, Mike, are you seeing people make in the summer during a summer move compared to other moves?
So the first thing that came to mind really is what we were just talking about. One, we're in a service industry where no one's excited about what's happening. When people are moving, they're stressed out. They have a million things to plan out. Oh, did I turn on the electric yet? The guys are here. Oh, how am I going to get my dogs over there? It's just, one thing after the other. So it's important, at least the way that we see it, to be as accommodating as possible. If, I have a book customer on the phone and they need a therapist for a half hour, I'm your guy. I'm there. But a mistake that I think people make is they'll wait pretty last minute, or they'll have, some friends or family that are like, hey, why don't you get a U-Haul and save the money and we'll help you. But then it's a day or two before things come up. They can't make it. Now it's last minute and people are looking for a mover that's going to be able to accommodate their move. Then, they're calling around, and at this point they could just say yes to anyone who pitches them on a move, and could end up in a bad situation, not get the chance to research the companies they're talking to, and oh, these guys have the availability, we're going to do it, and then that could lead to a bad time as well.
Okay. All right. So, Tom, anything else to add to that? Are you the therapist for them too, in a lot of ways, because you've been in this industry forever and that stressful move?